Imagine the fangirls that admired and chased you all of a sudden mocking you, making fun of you just because you summoned the weakest creature in existence. That's exactly what happened when the Academy's top student pulled a trash-tier Beedrill. But what these arrogant elites didn't know is that he also awakened a hidden, world-breaking SSS-grade cheat skill. While they bragged about summoning a single dragon, his talent gave him infinite summons of every insect in the existence. He's about to unleash an apocalyptic swarm to devour the entire continent and make everyone beg for mercy. The scene opens with a sweeping aerial view of a grand plaza, a massive open space that serves as the heart of this world-defining ceremony. In the very center of the plaza, a large glowing purple crystal rests atop a meticulously carved, tiered stone platform. The crystal pulses with a faint, otherworldly light, casting a soft violet hue over the surroundings. Scattered throughout the plaza are numerous students, all dressed in formal black and gold school uniforms, their expressions a mix of anxiety, hope, and anticipation. Among the crowd stands Li Feng, a young man with distinct silver-gray hair and deep purple eyes. His gaze is fixed forward, filled with a quiet determination that sets him apart from the more restless students around him. For Li Feng, this moment has been 16 years in the making. Internally, he reflects on his journey, thinking about how he transmigrated to this era where the path to power is defined by the role of a lord. Today is the day of awakening, the moment every 16-year-old reaches when they discover their initial soldier type. This single event will decide the trajectory of his entire life, determining whether he will rise to greatness or remain in the shadows of society. The atmosphere in the plaza is thick with tension and chatter. Nearby, a group of girls catches sight of Li Feng, and their excitement is immediate. One girl with long black hair and purple eyes points toward him, her voice filled with admiration as she identifies him as the heartthrob of Class 1. Beside her, a blonde-haired student clasps her hands together, surrounded by floating heart icons that mirror her infatuation. She whispers about how handsome he is and how his academic grades have always been top tier. To them, it seems a foregone conclusion that someone of his caliber will naturally awaken the strongest and most elite soldier type available. A chorus of cheers and waves breaks out from the group as they desperately try to catch his attention, calling his name into the open air. However, the admiration isn't universal. A short distance away, a group of male students watches the display with visible jealousy and disdain. Wang Chen, a student with spiky red hair, scoffs at the girls' enthusiasm. He mutters bitterly that good grades mean nothing in the face of the awakening ceremony, claiming that the quality of one's soldier type is a matter of pure, unpredictable luck. Another student smirks in agreement, noting that Li Feng's aloof attitude won't help him if he fails to pull a high-level unit. The resentment grows as a third student crosses his arms, questioning why a kid raised by a simple supermarket clerk deserves so much attention. They see his humble background as a flaw, believing he doesn't belong among the elite. The conversation takes a darker turn when a girl with long brown hair and gold shoulder pads speaks up. Her expression is one of annoyance as she reminds the others of Li Feng's sister. She notes that even if he manages to enter the Boundless Continent, he might just end up like her, defeated, humiliated, and kicked out of the trial. In her eyes, Li Feng is destined to return to a life of mediocrity as a clerk, regardless of his current popularity. The restless murmurs of the crowd are suddenly cut short as an older man steps forward. He is an instructor with a professional, stern demeanor, his hair streaked with gray, and his suit perfectly pressed. He commands the plaza to be quiet, his voice carrying an authority that demands respect. He begins to explain the rules of the ceremony one final time, reminding the students of the gravity of the situation. Each student must step onto the altar and place their hand upon the glowing purple crystal. This contact will trigger the awakening of their initial soldier type and grant them the temporary status of a novice lord. From that point, the students will be transported to the Boundless Continent for a grueling 7-day trial. The instructor emphasizes that this trial is the ultimate filter. Those who pass will become official lords, earning the right to build their own territories and begin the long journey toward potential godhood. But the stakes are absolute. Those who fail the trial will be expelled from the Boundless Continent immediately, losing their status as a lord forever and being stripped of the chance to ever try again. With the rules established and the weight of the future hanging over the students, the instructor looks down at his list and calls out the first name to begin the ceremony: Li Feng. Li Feng begins his ascent up the tiered stone steps, each footfall echoing against the heavy silence of the plaza. He reaches the top of the platform, where the large glowing purple crystal awaits. Standing before it, he pauses for a moment, his internal thoughts focused on the uncertainty of the future. He wonders what kind of soldier type will be bound to his soul, knowing that this single revelation will dictate his standing in the Boundless Continent. With a steady hand, he reaches out and makes contact with the cold surface of the crystal. The moment his palm touches the stone, the soft violet glow is violently replaced by a massive, blinding burst of golden light that erupts from the center of the altar. Within the depths of the crystal, a silhouette begins to form, rapidly taking shape. It is the outline of a giant insect, and as the light settles, the system display flickers into existence, announcing the result: Tier 1 Beedrill. Li Feng stares at the screen, a look of genuine shock crossing his face. A Beedrill, a creature he never expected to see as his primary soldier type. Emerging from the fading light, a single giant yellow bee hovers behind him. Its red eyes glow with a dull intensity, and its arms end in long, pointed white stingers. It hums with a low, vibrating buzz. The students below, who had been watching with bated breath, suddenly erupt into a wave of cruel laughter. The tension that had held the plaza breaks into mockery. One male student laughs hysterically, pointing a finger at the altar and shouting that his prediction was right. He calls the Beedrill one of the top 3 useless soldier types in existence, noting that Li Feng somehow managed to hit a 1 in a million probability of pulling complete trash. The ridicule intensifies as another student joins in, mocking Li Feng's prospects. He claims that starting with such a weak unit is essentially a death sentence during the novice trial. In his eyes, Li Feng shouldn't be worrying about being a lord, but rather how he plans to stay alive for more than a few hours. The girls who were previously cheering for him have now turned cold. One girl looks down on him with a sneer, suggesting that his good looks are useless now. She tells him that his only future is as a simple beekeeper, which mockingly suggests is at least a step up from being a clerk. Even the instructor, who had held high hopes for the young man, cannot hide his disappointment. He watches Li Feng descend the steps, thinking to himself that it is a great pity. He compares Li Feng to his sister, who had awakened a much more powerful soldier type, and feels that the young man has failed to live up to his family's potential. Li Feng walks back down the stone steps, his expression unreadable as he ignores the insults being hurled from all sides. Internally, he begins to process the reality of the Lord's world and its rigid hierarchy. He knows that soldier types are divided into 12 distinct tiers. Tiers 1 through 3 are considered common, while 4 through 6 represent the elite. Legendary types occupy tiers 7 through 9, and the rarest, most powerful epic types sit at tiers 10 through 12. Most novice lords are expected to start at tier 2 or 3. Those who manage to secure a tier 4 or 5 are considered the top talents of their provinces, and a tier 6 is a rarity across the entire country. By these standards, the Beedrill is the lowest of the low, the weakest of the weak. It is a unit that is widely known to be unable to even defeat a simple slime in combat. However, as Li Feng moves away from the crowd, he closes his eyes and focuses inward. A small flicker of purple flame suddenly appears in the center of his palm, hidden from the view of the others. He knows something. They do not. The Beedrill is not his only gift. A magical gold circle manifests in his mind's eye, and a system voice resonates within him, announcing his awakened talent, Insect Plague. This talent is revealed to be of SSS grade, the highest possible quality. The talent carries 2 devastating effects. The first effect removes the cooldown for summoning any insect-type soldier, allowing for instantaneous replenishment. The second effect allows any soldier-type blueprint Li Feng obtains to be converted into an insect soldier type of the same tier. A small, confident smirk plays on Li Feng's lips as the true potential of his situation becomes clear. He realizes that while a single Beedrill may be weak, the balance of power shifts entirely when one can command 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 of them at once. As Li Feng stands at the base of the platform, the weight of his newly revealed talent settles into his mind. He looks at the buzzing Beedrill, a creature others see as a mark of failure, but through the lens of his SSS-grade talent, Insect Plague, he sees something entirely different. He knows that the strength of an insect lies not in the individual, but in the overwhelming force of the swarm. He realizes that when his insect legions eventually grow to cover the entirety of the Boundless Continent, even the gods who rule over the higher realms will have no choice but to retreat in the face of such numbers. While Li Feng remains lost in his thoughts, the awakening ceremony continues for the rest of the students. The atmosphere in the plaza shifts from mockery to awe as more powerful entities begin to manifest. A girl named Sun Yun, recognizable by her shimmering silver hair, steps onto the platform. When she touches the crystal, a fluid and graceful entity emerges, a tier 6 water elemental spirit. The sight of such a high-tier spirit causes a stir among the faculty and students alike. Sun Yun looks at her summon with a sense of relief and quiet confidence, certain that with a tier 6 unit she will have no trouble surviving the upcoming novice trial. The excitement reaches a fever pitch when Wang Chen, the student with the spiky red hair, takes his turn. As his hand makes contact with the purple stone, the platform seems to tremble. A massive bipedal creature with draconic features and thick, armored scales materializes behind him. It is a Dragon Man, a tier 6 combat-oriented soldier type known for its devastating physical strength. Wang Chen is ecstatic, his face twisting into a grin of pure arrogance. He shouts to the crowd, asking who could possibly compete with him now. In his mind, the title of the first-place winner for this year's trial is already his to take. The rest of the students follow, though most results are far more modest. Some summon tier 2 rabbits or wolves, their faces pale with worry as they wonder if such common creatures will be enough to protect them. One female student looks at her tier 2 summon with despair, asking herself what she should do, while a male student nearby tries to comfort himself by noting that, no matter how weak his pull was, it is still undeniably stronger than Li Feng's pathetic Beedrill. The social hierarchy of the school shifts in an instant. The girls who had spent the morning cheering for Li Feng and calling him a heartthrob now abandon him without a second thought. They swarm around Wang Chen instead, batting their lashes and praising the coolness of his Dragon Man. They desperately ask if they can join his territory or if he can provide them with protection once they enter the Boundless Continent. When Wang Chen mockingly asks if they aren't looking for their favorite heartthrob Li Feng anymore, one girl scoffs, claiming she doesn't even know who Li Feng is. She remarks cruelly that while some people fail at the starting line, Li Feng is the only one who managed to die at the starting line. Wang Chen, fueled by the adoration of the crowd, walks over to Li Feng accompanied by his group of followers. He looks down at Li Feng, taunting him about how quickly his status has fallen. He points out that the women who used to follow him are now actively avoiding him and that Li Feng, Feng, with his lack of money and his useless soldier type, has nothing left to offer. His cronies join in calling Li Feng a janitor that no one wants to associate with. Li Feng remains remarkably calm throughout the verbal assault. He looks at the group with a steady gaze, dismissing them as wall-sitters who simply go wherever the wind blows. He tells them to laugh all they want for now, but he warns them that once they actually step foot into the Boundless Continent, the laughter will come to an end. The instructor eventually calls for order, signaling the conclusion of the ceremony. He addresses the 8,659 students gathered, officially recognizing them as novice lords. He lays out the final instructions for the 7-day trial that lies ahead. He explains that every night in the Boundless Continent, waves of monsters will descend upon their territories. Survival is the only metric for success. Those who cannot defend their base will be eliminated. To raise the stakes even higher, he announces that the top-performing lord in this year's trial will be rewarded with a myth-level building blueprint. The mention of a myth-level item sends a shockwave through the students. Many gasp at the sheer value of such a prize, while others realize the impossibility of obtaining it. With millions of participants across the various zones and geniuses like Sunyun wielding Tier 6 spirits, most students feel the reward is far out of their reach. Li Feng, however, narrows his eyes as he prepares for the transition. He reflects on the history of their world, noting that throughout all of time, only 8 people have ever been recorded to awaken an SSS-grade talent. He is now the 9th. With the power of the insect plague at his disposal, the so-called talents of the other students seem insignificant to him. He makes a silent vow to himself, regardless of the competition, that myth-level blueprint will belong to him. As the ceremony reaches its conclusion, a man dressed in a sharp black suit steps forward, drawing a glowing sword from his side. With a single, fluid motion, he slashes through the air, tearing open the fabric of reality to reveal a swirling purple portal that pulses with arcane energy. The instructor's voice rings out once more, directing the students to enter the portal in a specific order based on the tier of their awakened soldier types. The highest tiers, like Sun Yun and Wang Chen, are allowed to enter first, while those with lower tier summons are forced to wait, reinforcing the rigid hierarchy of this new world. Just as Li Feng prepares to take his place at the back of the line, a woman rushes through the crowd toward him. She is wearing a simple maid-style supermarket uniform, her long dark hair slightly disheveled from her haste. This is Li Wuchang. As soon as she reaches him, she pulls him into a tight, desperate hug, her eyes brimming with tears. She tells him that she heard about the Beedrill, her voice trembling as she pleads with him to prioritize his life over everything else. To her, rankings, glory, and rewards mean nothing compared to his safety. She promises that if he just comes back alive, she will have a massive meal waiting for him. Li Feng holds her back, his heart heavy with the knowledge of her sacrifices. Internally, he reflects on their history. Li Wuchang is not his biological sister, but she is the only family he has ever truly known. After his parents vanished, the rest of the world turned its back on him, viewing him as a useless burden. It was only she who refused to give up, raising him on the meager income she earned as a clerk. Li Feng remembers a time when she was different, a high-level, powerful lord with a bright future. However, she had been crippled and forcibly expelled from the Boundless Continent after standing up to the son of a powerful lord. Now, her legs ache with a deep, persistent pain every night. Li Feng's primary motivation for this trial isn't just his own survival. It is to find the legendary treasures hidden within the Boundless Continent that can heal her and to take back the dignity that was stolen from her. He promises her with absolute certainty that he will pass the trial and return to make everything right. With one final look at his sister, Li Feng turns and steps through the portal. The transition is instantaneous. He finds himself standing in the center of a vast, desolate wasteland. The ground beneath his boots is a harsh expanse of red cracked earth, looking like a shattered mosaic of dried clay. Above, the sky is a deep, clear blue, and in the far distance, jagged mountain ranges line the horizon. This is his initial territory. Every novice lord is granted a similar starting point, a blank canvas where they must build their defenses and summon their strength. As he stands there, a digital interface flickers into his vision. A system voice prompts him to provide a name for his lord title. Without hesitation, he chooses Master of Calamity. The system confirms the naming and issues a warning. The first wave of monsters will arrive in exactly 22 hours and 22 minutes. A dark, flickering image appears in his mind, showing a terrifying horde of giants, wolves, and demons already beginning their march toward his location. Li Feng opens his resource tab to assess his starting position. He has been granted 1,000 units each of wood, stone, iron, food, and gold. It is a standard starting kit, but for most, it is barely enough to survive the first night. He immediately navigates the building menu to construct the most vital structure, the soldier altar. As he confirms the placement, the ground in the middle of the wasteland begins to shift. The resources are consumed and a golden, beehive-shaped altar rises from the cracked earth, its design intricately linked to his insect-type soldiers. Li Feng stands before the altar, considering his next move. He knows that a Tier 1 lord is typically restricted by the system, usually only able to summon 10 soldiers per day. This limitation is what causes the majority of novice lords to be eliminated during the very first monster wave, as 10 basic units are rarely enough to hold back a concentrated assault. However, as he prepares to activate the altar, a cold light glints in his eyes. He knows that with his SSS-grade talent, Insect Plague, the rules that govern everyone else no longer apply to him. Li Feng stands before the golden beehive-shaped altar, his hands steady as he begins the summoning process. He reaches into his starting resources and pours handfuls of gold coins into the structure. As the gold is consumed by the altar's magic, the air begins to vibrate with a low, rhythmic hum that grows steadily louder. From the dark recesses of the hive, a massive swarm of giant bees erupts, their translucent wings beating so fast they become a blur of motion. A system display flickers into Li Feng's field of vision, providing the specific data for his new soldiers. Each Beedrill is classified as a Tier 1 insect-type unit. Their individual statistics are underwhelming, to say the least. The interface shows a meager 50 health points, an attack power of 8, and a defense of only 2. Their primary combat capability comes from a single skill, Poison Sting. Li Feng looks at the data and then at the buzzing creatures surrounding him. He acknowledges that, on an individual level, not a single one of their stats meets a standard combat level. However, a cold, calculating look enters his eyes as he reflects on the true power of his SSS-grade talent. He knows that while a single sting might be negligible, 1,000 bites can bring down even the largest elephant. For the ambition he holds, 1,000 Beedrills is merely the beginning. It is far from the total number he intends to command. With a determined gesture, Li Feng points toward the horizon, commanding his first legion to move. The massive swarm rises as one, a cloud of gold and black that streaks across the red-cracked wasteland toward a lush green forest that marks the boundary of his immediate territory. Li Feng follows them, noting the strategic geography of his new world. For the first 3 days of the trial, every lord is granted a 1-kilometer protection zone, a safe haven where they can establish their roots. He intends to use this time and space to its fullest potential, exploring the surroundings and gathering every possible resource. As he enters the forest, the environment changes from the dry heat of the wasteland to the cool, damp shadows of ancient trees. However, the peace of the forest is quickly shattered. A group of black bears with glowing red eyes and long curved claws emerges from the dense foliage, their low growls echoing through the timber. A system warning flashes red in his vision, identifying the threat as a pack of Malayan bears. There are over 100 of them, a daunting number for any novice lord on their first day. Li Feng remains perfectly still, his expression calm despite the encroaching predators. He evaluates the situation with a tactical mind. Malayan bears are formidable Tier 1 monsters, strong enough that a single bear could easily overpower 4 or 5 individual Beedrills in a direct confrontation. A pack of 100 would typically be considered a catastrophe at this early stage. He muses that even the elite students like Sun Yun with her water spirit or Wang Chen with his dragon man would likely choose to retreat rather than face such a concentrated force so soon. But Li Feng does not move to retreat. He looks at the bears and speaks to the empty air, wondering how they could possibly hope to win against a tenfold difference in numbers. With a sharp flick of his finger, he gives the order to attack. He commands his forces to leave none of the pack alive. The forest air explodes with the sound of thousands of wings. The Beedrills dive bomb the bears like living projectiles, their white stingers glowing with the activation of the poison sting skill. The bears roar in fury, swiping their massive paws through the air in an attempt to crush the insects, but for every bee they strike down, dozens more take its place. The sheer volume of the swarm is overwhelming. Thousands of stingers pierce through thick fur and hide, injecting venom simultaneously. The bears, once fierce and intimidating, begin to stumble. One by one, they collapse under the weight of the relentless stinging cloud. The system chimes repeatedly as the battle concludes, confirming that all 100 Malayan bears have been neutralized. For his victory, Li Feng is awarded 100 gold coins, a direct replenishment of the resources he spent to summon his army. The forest floor is now littered with the heavy carcasses of the bears. Li Feng's eyes glow with a bright blue light, a manifestation of his lord powers, as he surveys the carnage. The system prompts him, noting that monster carcasses have been discovered and asking if he wishes to collect them. Li Feng gives the command to collect, knowing that in the Boundless Continent, nothing, not even the bodies of his enemies, should go to waste if he is to build his empire. As the collection process begins, a soft golden light cascades over the forest floor, enveloping the fallen Malayan bears. One by one, the massive carcasses dissolve into shimmering particles, replaced by tangible resources that are automatically cataloged by the system. Li Feng watches the interface as it chimes with each successful collection. 10 portions of bear meat and a single bear hide from one. 10 more portions of meat and 10 sharp bear claws from another. For Li Feng, this isn't just about the food or materials, it is the fuel for his rapid expansion. He looks over his growing inventory, noting to himself that while this is a productive start, he must continue to seek out greater challenges and create more glory if he intends to dominate the Boundless Continent. His quiet reflection is interrupted by a single Beedrill that breaks formation. The insect hovers inches from his ear, its wings vibrating with an urgent staccato buzz that stands out from the steady hum of the swarm. Li Feng's expression shifts instantly, his eyes narrowing as he interprets the scout's report. Through the link with his soldiers, a mental image manifests, a massive, bear-like creature crowned with jagged antlers, its chest marked by glowing green runes. The scout has discovered an elite monster, and more importantly, it is guarding a treasure chest. In the early stages of the trial, such a find is invaluable, as it likely contains high-grade resources or rare blueprints. Li Feng gives a sharp nod and commands the Beedrill to lead the way. The scene briefly shifts to another part of the dense forest, where the arrogant student who had previously mocked Li Feng is currently positioned. He stands with his arms crossed, watching a small group of Tier 2 goblins as they aggressively kick the carcass of a common Malayan bear. He laughs to himself, boasting about the strength of his goblins and mocking Li Feng's chances of survival. He is convinced that the Beedrills have already been wiped out and that Li Feng has has likely been eaten by the local monsters. However, the ground beneath his feet suddenly begins to heave and tremble. From the thick foliage, a Tier 3 bear monster with piercing green eyes emerges. The student's face pales, and sweat begins to bead on his forehead as the system identifies the threat. Panicked, he screams for his goblins to attack. But the power difference is absolute. With a single effortless swipe of its massive paw, the Tier 3 beast pulverizes the goblins instantly. The monster then turns its attention to the student's territory crystal. As the crystal shatters under the beast's weight, a pillar of light descends from the sky, and the student vanishes, eliminated from the trial before the first day has even concluded. Unaware of the other student's fate, Li Feng arrives at the entrance of a dark, imposing cave. His golden swarm hovers around him in a protective cloud as he peers into the shadows. Inside, the antlered creature waits, its form massive and intimidating. The system interface flickers to life, providing the data. Druid, bear form, race, nature, Tier 3 elite. Its stats are staggering compared to the common monsters: 104 their health points, 96 attack power, and a defense of 48. The druid rises to its full height, its voice a deep, resonant growl that echoes through the cavern. It speaks with surprising clarity, demanding to know why a human dares to disturb its slumber and warning that such an intrusion will only result in death. Li Feng remains unmoved by the creature's speech. He finds the druid's posturing to be nothing more than noise. With a calm, cold voice, he gives the command for his army to destroy the guardian. The Beedrill surge forward, a golden wave of stingers rushing into the darkness. The druid reacts by slamming its paws into the cavern floor, triggering a bright green magic circle that manifests beneath its feet. Li Feng watches closely, noting that the creature is utilizing both summoning skills and a layer of magical defensive armor. It is a more sophisticated opponent than anything he has faced so far. Recognizing the shift in the battle's complexity, Li Feng immediately adapts his tactics. He commands half of his swarm to peel off and handle the smaller minions or magical distractions, while the remaining half is ordered to focus their collective. Poison sting attacks on the druid's main body. The cavern is quickly filled with the sounds of clashing magic and the relentless buzzing of the swarm as the high-stakes battle begins. The fierce struggle inside the dark cavern reaches its climax as the golden swarm of Beedrills proves to be a relentless force of nature. Despite the druid's formidable vine-like armor and its magical defenses, the sheer number of insects allows them to find every small gap in its protection. Hundreds of stingers find their marks simultaneously, injecting venom deep into the creature's massive frame. The druid, which moments ago had roared with such authority, begins to waver. Its strength fails, and with one final, heavy thud that echoes against the cave walls, the elite beast collapses. A system notification chimes in Li Feng's mind, confirming the kill. For defeating a Tier 3 elite druid, he is awarded 40 gold coins and, more importantly, an ornate Tier 3 treasure chest. Li Feng walks toward the fallen guardian, his eyes fixed on the chest that sits within the shadows. The box is intricately designed, signaling the rarity of the rewards held within. As he reaches out and unlatches the lid, a brilliant spill of golden light illuminates the dark interior of the cave. The system lists the spoils, an additional 100 gold coins, a single glowing Tier 3 gem, and a new soldier blueprint for iron-clad wolves. Li Feng examines the blueprint with a critical eye. In its current state, it is a beast-type unit, which would normally be of no use to a lord who specializes in insects. However, this is where the true power of his SSS-grade talent, Insect Plague, manifests. He holds the blueprint in his hand, and immediately, a swirling purple magical circle erupts around it, humming with a dark, transformative energy. The system confirms the activation of his talent, and the blueprint for the wolves begins to shift and reshape itself. When the light fades, Li Feng is left holding a blueprint for iron-clad ants. He checks the requirements for construction, noting that it will cost him 400 units each of wood, stone, and iron, along with the Tier 3 gem he just acquired. He looks back at the aftermath of the battle. The ground is littered with the broken bodies of roughly 300 Beedrills. To any other lord, losing such a significant portion of their initial army would be a devastating blow, but to Li Feng, it is a calculated and acceptable sacrifice. The rewards he has gained far outweigh the cost of replenishing his swarm. He places a hand on the massive carcass of the druid to initiate a collection. The system processes the body, granting him 100 units of food and a rare item, a Tier 3 druid's heart. He notes that while this heart is used to upgrade the potential of druid-type soldiers' units he does not possess, it will serve as a valuable high-priced commodity in the future market. Before leaving the area, Li Feng opens his holographic interface, specifically navigating to the elite school support channel to gauge the progress of his peers. The chat is a chaotic flood of panic and desperation. One student laments that a single Tier 3 iron-clad wolf has pinned him inside his territory, having wiped out his Tier 2 soldiers the moment they attempted to explore. A female student shares a terrifying account of her Tier 3 units being beaten to death when a simple hunting mission was ambushed by a pack of Malayan bears. The sentiment across the channel is one of fear. Students are being pushed to their limits by monsters that Li Feng has already begun to systematically harvest. Li Feng closes the screen, a quiet internal monologue reflecting on the state of the competition. He realizes that if a dozen bears or a single wolf are enough to paralyze these elite students, then the average level of this zone is far lower than he anticipated. He decides it is still early in the trial, and that his time is best spent returning to his home base. His goal is to immediately begin the construction of the ironclad ant altar, a move that will significantly increase his efficiency in exploring the surrounding wilds. Back at the red-cracked wasteland, the sun hangs low in the sky, casting long shadows over the barren earth. Li Feng stands in the center of his territory and unrolls the newly converted blueprint. He gives the command to the system, and as the necessary resources are deducted from his inventory, the earth begins to rumble once more. The foundation of the ironclad ant altar begins to rise from the dust, marking the next phase of his rise to power in the Boundless Continent. The red cracked wasteland tremors once more, as the resources are fully integrated into the earth. From the dry, parched ground, a massive metallic structure begins to rise, its silhouette unmistakably shaped like a titan-sized ant. Unlike the organic hive-like appearance of the Beedrill altar, this structure is composed of dark, reinforced plating that hums with a volatile energy. Arcs of blue electricity dance across its surface, crackling in the thin air of the wasteland. Li Feng stands before the completed ironclad ant altar, his eyes reflecting the blue sparks. He recognizes the tactical advantage of this new addition. He now possesses both air superiority with his Beedrills and a heavy ground force. With 330 gold coins currently at his disposal, he decides to commit his entire treasury to the summon, bringing forth a new legion of armored soldiers. The ground around the altar begins to boil as the ironclad ants emerge. They are large, intimidating creatures, their bodies encased in black, obsidian-like armor that glints under the blue sky. Their eyes glow with a steady, haunting blue light, matching the electricity of their birthplace. They don't buzz or hum like the bees. Instead, their movements are punctuated by the sharp, rhythmic clicking of their metallic legs against the stone. Li Feng watches the formation take shape, satisfied with the discipline of his insect swarm. He issues a single, clear command for all units to move out, marking the beginning of a coordinated land and air offensive. As the army marches back into the dense greenery of the forest, the strategic synergy of the two insect types becomes immediately apparent. They soon encounter a large cluster of various colored slimes, gelatinous monsters that ripple and pulse as they move across the forest floor. Li Feng remains calm, calling upon advanced tactics to handle the encounter. He directs the Beedrills to hover high above, using their superior mobility to harass the slimes and keep them distracted. While the slimes are occupied by the aerial threat, the ironclad ants move in with cold efficiency. They advance in a tight formation, their powerful mandibles tearing through the soft, viscous bodies of the monsters. The forest is soon filled with the sound of popping gelatin as the area is systematically cleared. The system chimes in the background, noting the collection of 33 units of slime mucus and another 33 gold coins to replenish his stores. The march continues deeper into the woods, where they are soon intercepted by a pack of Tier 1 gray wolves. The predators snarl and snap, their hackles raised at the sight of the encroaching swarm. Li Feng looks at them with nothing but disdain, dismissing them as mere wild dogs that have the audacity to block his path. He orders the Beedrills to encircle the pack, using their flight to restrict the wolves' movement and prevent any chance of escape. With the perimeter secured, the ironclad ants press forward like a slow-moving wall of black steel. The wolves attempt to bite through the ants' armor, but their teeth find no purchase on the reinforced plating. One by one, the ants seize the wolves, finishing them with calculated precision. The battle is brief and one-sided, yielding 38 gold coins, 20 portions of food, and 50 wolf pelts. Li Feng reflects on the efficiency of his progress. He calls it sustaining war through war, a cycle where the resources stripped from the fallen are immediately used to fuel the growth of his army. He realizes that as long as there are monsters to hunt, his strength will continue to grow exponentially. His total gold count quickly climbs back over the 1,000 mark, and his stockpiles of food and materials continue to swell. However, Li Feng is not yet ready to rest. He pushes his forces further into the uncharted territory, eventually discovering a mountain that stands out from the surrounding landscape. Its peak glows with a distinct shimmering golden hue. The system identifies it as a Tier 1 gold mine, a rare and valuable resource point capable of producing a stable 100 gold coins every single day. For a lord, in the early stages of the trial, such a find is the difference between a struggling territory and an empire. The mine is not unguarded. Standing at the base of the Golden Mountain is a massive, multicolored slime that dwarfs the ones found earlier. It possesses a single, lidless eye that tracks the swarm's approach. The system warns of a Tier 2 large slime and a Tier 3 giant slime serving as the mountain's guardians. Li Feng does not hesitate. He knows the value of the mine far outweighs the risk of the engagement. He commands all his forces to attack, ordering them to destroy the guardians at any cost. The golden cloud of Beedrills and the black tide of ironclad ants descend upon the mountain in a singular, devastating wave. The giant slime attempts to crush the ants with its massive weight, but the Beedrills dive bomb its sensory organ, blinding it with repeated stings. In the chaos, the ironclad ants climb onto the gelatinous body, their mandibles working in unison to tear the massive creature apart from the inside out. The struggle is intense, but the sheer numbers of the insect plague prove insurmountable. The giant slime eventually dissolves into a puddle of multicolored liquid, leaving the gold mine open for Li Feng to claim. The system confirms the victory, awarding him another 68 gold coins and 90 units of food, solidifying his foothold in this new world. With the Golden Mountain secured and the giant slime defeated, Li Feng begins to organize his new territory with cold, calculated efficiency. He does not simply take the spoils and leave. Instead, he assigns a detachment of 100 Beedrills to stay behind and begin the labor-intensive process of mining the gold. He commands the remainder of his swarm to spread out across the mountainous region, tasking them with mapping out every mineral vein and resource point within his reach. He makes a silent declaration that from this day forward, this entire mining region belongs to the Li family. The system chimes in response, successfully marking 300 distinct mineral resource points on his map, a feat of exploration that would take other lords days or even weeks to achieve. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon, casting long orange shadows through the trees, Li Feng makes his way back through the forest toward his home base. During the walk, a notification flickers in his field of vision. The system suggests that to facilitate his development, he should join the Novice Lord Mutual Aid channel. He taps the holographic screen and is immediately greeted by the bustling digital hub of his peers. A girl with a high ponytail appears on the screen, welcoming new members and reminding everyone to change their display names to the required format. The chat is filled with students nervously comparing their progress. Suddenly, Wang Chen's face appears on the interface, his Tier 6 Dragon Man, standing prominently in the background. With a look of immense satisfaction, Wang Chen boasts that his luck has been incredible, as he has already located a Tier 1 gold mine. He mentions that while the area is currently overrun with guardians, he is confident that once he summons more soldiers, he will have no trouble clearing it out. The channel erupts in praise, with students calling him the chosen one and expressing their deep envy of his fortune. Li Feng watches the exchange with a quiet smirk before swiping the channel closed. He finds it amusing that Wang Chen is bragging about merely finding a mine that he hasn't even cleared yet, while Li Feng has already conquered one and put his army to work. His focus shifts to the upcoming monster attack. He knows that to secure the highest score and claim the first-place myth-level blueprint, he must eliminate the invading forces as quickly and efficiently as possible. Upon returning to his red-cracked wasteland, Li Feng opens his inventory to conduct a final audit of his wealth. His hoard has grown significantly: 1,511 gold coins, 12,000 units of wood, 11,000 stone, and 8,000 iron. He also checks his collection of monster drops, noting 193 portions of normal slime mucus, 21 large portions, and 1 giant portion. He calculates that the market price for these materials alone is 308 gold coins. With such a surplus, he decides to initiate a full-scale summoning. He funnels his gold into the altars, calling forth a massive reinforcement of 150 ironclad ants and 11 additional Beedrills, bringing his legion to a terrifying new scale. With his army bolstered, Li Feng turns his attention to his territory's infrastructure. He consumes 400 wood and 40 stone to construct a wooden warehouse, a sturdy building that can store up to 40,000 units of resources, ensuring his stockpiles are protected from the elements. He watches as the logs fly into place, the system's construction magic working with seamless precision. Next, he spends another 400 wood and 20 stone to build a simple wooden house. A cozy rustic cabin materializes in the middle of the wasteland. Inside, he meticulously adds a bed, a table, several stools, and even a swing chair, creating a small sanctuary of comfort amidst the harsh environment. Just as he finishes settling into his new surroundings, the system's tone shifts, becoming urgent and dark. It announces the beginning of the first monster invasion. The initial count is set at 50 monsters. In a different part of the forest, the same arrogant student who had been struggling earlier is shown cowering inside a dark cave. He looks at his own notification with horror, noting that in previous years, the first wave only consisted of 20 monsters. The difficulty of the trial has doubled, and with only 3 Tier 3 apes left to defend him, he wonders with a trembling voice if he has any hope of surviving the night. Meanwhile, Li Feng stands outside his cabin, his massive insect swarm humming in the darkness, waiting for the slaughter to begin. The night air over the red-cracked wasteland grows heavy with the approach of the first trial wave. In a different part of the continent, Wang Chen is seen gritting his teeth, his expression a mask of intense concentration and excitement. He declares to the empty air that this is his moment to take first place, fully confident in the power of his Dragon Man. Meanwhile, back at his own territory, Li Feng stands outside his newly constructed wooden cabin. His arms are crossed calmly over his chest, his silver-gray hair catching the dim light of the moon. Above and around him, a massive, buzzing cloud of Beedrills and a silent, grounded line of ironclad ants stand ready. Li Feng looks toward the dark horizon and notes that the time has finally arrived. From the shadows of the wasteland, a horde of robotic-looking goblins begins to emerge, their metallic footsteps clattering against the dry earth as they charge forward. The system interface provides a quick analysis of the invaders: Tier 1 goblins with 100 health points, 10 attack power, and 5 defense. Li Feng watches their approach with a look of mild indifference. To any other lord, 50 of these creatures would represent a significant threat, but to the Master of Calamity, they are merely a nuisance. Before the goblins can even reach the perimeter of his cabin, a single ironclad ant lunges forward with startling speed. Its powerful metallic mandibles snap shut around the torso of the leading goblin, crushing the robotic creature in half instantly. The system chimes, recording the kill and granting Li Feng a single gold coin and 1 point toward his trial score. Seeing the ease of the first kill, Li Feng turns away from the battle and takes a seat on the swing chair he had built earlier. With a casual snap of his fingers, he gives the order for the rest of his army to move. What follows is a scene of absolute slaughter. The ironclad ants and Beedrills descend upon the remaining goblins in a coordinated swarm. The robotic invaders have no time to mount a defense. They are torn apart in a matter of seconds by the overwhelming numbers and the crushing force of the ants' mandibles. Li Feng, sitting comfortably on his swing, lets out a long yawn and stretches his arms. He mutters to himself that the trial is proving to be far too easy. Suddenly, a massive gold frame manifests in the air before him, shimmering with a prestigious light. The system announces that Li Feng is the very first lord in the entire zone to successfully clear the trial monsters. The time taken for the total annihilation of the wave was a mere 25 minutes. For this unprecedented achievement, he is awarded a massive bonus of 100 score points. The rewards continue to flood in: 10,000 gold coins, a tier 4 gem, a tier 4 cursed demon blueprint, and a rare hero recruitment order. The system then asks if he wishes to be anonymous before broadcasting his achievement to the entire zone. Li Feng doesn't hesitate. He answers with a firm no. The announcement rings out across the continent, appearing as a broadcast for every novice lord to see. Congratulations to Lord Li Feng, Master of Calamity, for being the first to clear the trial monsters in 5 minutes. Deep in the forest, Wang Chen is in the middle of a frantic battle. His tier 6 dragon man is swinging its massive claws, slowly working its way through a group of goblins. When the notification appears, Wang Chen freezes in shock. He stares at the name Li Feng, wondering if it could possibly be the same person he mocked at the academy. He refuses to believe it, questioning where such a trash student could have found the strength to surpass him. His fury boils over as he looks at the leaderboard. He notes that Li Feng is only 10 points ahead of him currently. He consoles himself with the thought that there is still a month left in the trial. He believes that once his tier 6 dragon man fully matures, the top spot will inevitably return to him. Back at his cabin, Li Feng ignores the ripples he has caused in the social rankings. He holds a new parchment in his hand, the tier 4 cursed demon blueprint. The image on the paper shows a large winged demon radiating a dark, malevolent energy. Li Feng evaluates the blueprint with his usual pragmatism. He acknowledges that a tier 4 soldier type is powerful, but because it is of the demon race and not bolstered by his specific talent buffs, he would be limited to summoning only 4 units per day. To Li Feng, 4 units is an insignificantly small number. He decides to utilize the core strength of his SSS grade talent once again. He looks at the demonic parchment and gives the command, convert grade talent. Insect Plague, a surge of golden light erupts from his palm, completely engulfing the demonic blueprint. The image of the winged demon dissolves, its dark energy being reshaped and purified by the light until it transforms into a glowing orange moth. The system confirms the successful conversion. He now possesses the tier 4 self-exploding firefly blueprint. Without a moment's delay, Li Feng gives the command to construct the corresponding altar. A massive pillar of brilliant white light descends from the sky, striking the parched, red-cracked earth of the wasteland with a resonant boom. Where the light makes contact, the ground shifts and transforms, giving rise to a small raised mound. Unlike his other structures, this mound is covered in a sudden burst of lush greenery and punctuated by glowing, jagged crystals that pulse with internal heat. Li Feng approaches the new altar and begins the summoning process, tossing a significant portion of his wealth, 5,000 gold coins, into the mound's glowing core. In response, a thick cloud of purple and black glowing insects erupts from the greenery, buzzing with a volatile energy. The system provides the statistics for these new soldiers. The self-exploding fireflies are tier 4 units with 400 health points and in staggering 400 attack power. Their defense is non-existent, set at 0, because their entire purpose is defined by their singular, devastating skill, self-destruct. This ability deals 10 times the firefly's attack damage to any target of tier 6 or below and significantly strips away the enemy's defenses for a short duration. Li Feng watches the glowing swarm hover above the wasteland, a confident smirk playing on his lips. He recognizes them as his ultimate trump cards. If he encounters high-tier monsters or elite guardians that his standard swarm cannot overwhelm, these fireflies will provide a fireworks show that will blow his enemies sky high. With his soldier legions now reinforced by a tier 4 suicide squad, Li Feng turns his attention to a more rare and valuable item in his inventory, a golden hero recruitment order. He understands the fundamental limitation of even the strongest soldier types. They are tools of war, but they lack the wisdom and tactical autonomy required to lead. Heroes, however, are the true commanders of the Boundless Continent, capable of leading vast armies and providing massive strategic buffs. Li Feng raises the golden token high toward the sky, calling forth an insect hero to lead his growing plague. A massive beam of white light, far larger than the one for the altar, strikes the ground, sending powerful shockwaves across the wasteland. As the dust and smoke from the impact begin to clear, a gargantuan figure emerges. It is a massive purple robotic scorpion, its mechanical parts clicking and whirring with lethal precision. Its numerous eyes glow with an eerie, steady light. The system identifies the hero as Scanna, a vicious eye demon scorpion of epic quality. Despite being only tier 1, Scanna's attributes are overwhelming. 80,000 health points, 800 attack power, and 500 defense. Li Feng meticulously observes Scanna's detailed mechanical structure, noting that the hero's power far exceeds that of any common soldier. Scanna possesses a versatile skill set, the Evil Eye Gaze, which can stun all enemies within its sight. The Death Ray, a concentrated energy beam fired from its primary eye. And most importantly, the Insect Aura, a passive command ability that provides massive buffs to up to 80,000 insect soldiers. Li Feng realizes that Scanna is the perfect centerpiece for his army, providing damage, crowd control, and support all in one mechanical frame. As the Scorpion hero kneels before him in a show of absolute loyalty, Li Feng feels the power of his territory shift. With an epic hero providing a nearly 50% buff to his soldiers, his overall military strength has effectively doubled in an instant. He commands Scanna to rise, informing the hero that they will march together at dawn. Later that evening, Li Feng retreats to the quiet of his wooden house. He sits on his handcrafted furniture and opens the holographic support channel to see the state of the world outside his borders. The channel is more active than ever, with 890,000 participants currently online and the chat scrolling at a breakneck pace. The primary topic of conversation is the recent system broadcast. One student expresses disbelief, questioning how that Li Feng guy could have cleared the first trial wave twice as fast as the historical average, even suggesting he might be a hacker. Another student points out his title, the Master of Calamity, a name that has already begun to instill a sense of awe and unease among the thousands of novice lords struggling to survive their first night. Unfazed by the digital chatter, Li Feng remains focused on the path ahead, knowing that the calamity he represents has only just begun. A female student, desperate for security in the harsh environment, sends a public message asking if the Li Feng boss needs any followers, offering herself as a leg rest, and mentioning her Tier 3 soldiers as a plea for association. Li Feng watches the flood of incoming friend requests and messages with a detached expression. To him, the digital noise is a distraction from the task at hand. He finds the clamor of the other students to be nothing more than a nuisance. With a few swift motions, he activates a reject all setting, clearing his screen of the desperate pleas for attention. However, the chatter doesn't stop. A student from his school recognizes the name, asking if the person at the top of the rankings is indeed the Li Feng from Class 1. Others chimed in, eager to hug the thigh of such a monster talent. The screen suddenly flickers with a more aggressive presence as Wang Chen appears. His face is twisted with fury, his eyes bloodshot from the stress of the trial. He shouts into the channel, calling the situation ridiculous. He reminds everyone that Li Feng's initial soldier type was a trash Beedrill and insists that such a person wouldn't even survive the first night. He refuses to accept that the global announcement could be about the same person he looked down upon just hours ago, his voice full of desperate denial. Li Feng closes the channel, his attention shifting to a small pile of Tier 1 gems resting on the wooden table in his cabin. He knows that his own strength is tied to the development of his hero. He gathers the gems, and as he funnels their energy into his recruitment system, a massive golden aura erupts, surrounding his entire body. He repeats the command to upgrade, and with each pulse of light he feels his personal power surge to new heights. It is a physical sensation of growth, a feeling of absolute strength and clarity. In this moment, he truly understands why so many lords choose to abandon their lives on Earth to stay permanently in the Boundless Continent. The feeling of such raw, evolving power is addictive and profound. With the hero upgrade complete, Li Feng turns his focus to the 3 reward treasure chests sitting on the floor of his house. He gives the command to open them all at once. The room is instantly filled with a cascade of resources and items. 2,000 units each of wood, stone, iron, and gold coins, alongside a rare Tier 6 gem. Among the spoils, 2 items stand out, a beginner castle blueprint, and a war weapon known as the Ghost Blood Blade. Li Feng picks up the Ghost Blood Blade, examining the sleek, purple, and red katana. It is a Tier 1 war treasure, but its effects are devastating for a lord, who commands a swarm. The blade provides a flat plus 20 attack bonus to all soldiers under his command, and grants the entire army the Bloodlust skill. Li Feng quickly runs the numbers, his mind calculating the new combat potential of his forces. His Beedrills, which previously had a modest attack of 17, now hit for 37. The ironclad ants see their attack power jump from 41 to 61, and even his Tier 4 self-exploding fireflies receive a boost, moving from 400 to 420. He realizes the terrifying scale of this weapon. It is only a Tier 1 treasure, yet it has already significantly increased the lethality of his thousands of insects. He muses that if he can secure a legendary war weapon in the future, his army will be capable of sweeping across the entire Boundless Continent without resistance. Finally, he unrolls the beginner castle blueprint. This is the cornerstone of a lord's power. The system displays the castle statistics, a massive 80,000 health points, and a defense rating of 400. Once built, it will establish a 10-kilometer territory radius. Within this zone, all of Li Feng's units will receive a 50% attribute boost, their HP recovery will double, and all building cooldowns will be slashed by half. The cost is high, 10,000 units each of wood, stone, and iron, but Li Feng has already harvested enough from the wasteland and forest to cover the expense. He understands that only by constructing a castle can he truly be considered a lord, and he envisions a future where this humble base evolves into a divine temple. Before beginning the construction, he takes a strategic precaution, leaving a single Beedrill at the cave entrance to act as a permanent scout. He then walks outside and climbs onto the massive metallic back of his hero, Scanna. As he rides the giant scorpion back to the center of his territory, he prepares for the transformation of his base. Standing in the center of the wasteland, he slams the blueprint down onto the red cracked earth. Glowing white lines begin to trace across the ground, forming a complex geometric foundation. From the parched soil, a massive white stone Gothic castle begins to rise. Tall, elegant spires pierce the sky, and reinforced walls manifest in the darkness, replacing the simple wooden structures with a fortress that marks the true beginning of Li Feng's reign as the Master of Calamity. The completion of the massive white stone Gothic castle marks a turning point in the wasteland's atmosphere. As the tall, elegant spires pierce the dark sky, a system-wide broadcast resonates throughout the Boundless Continent, reaching every novice lord currently struggling in the wilderness. The announcement is clear. Li Feng has become the first lord to successfully build a castle. For this monumental achievement, he is awarded another 100 points toward his trial score, effectively cementing his lead. The rewards continue to flow into his inventory: 10,000 gold coins, an epic spirit field, a tier 6 gem, and a highly sought-after tier 6 flying mantis blueprint. The news sends another shockwave through the Novice Lord Mutual Aid channel. The chat room, which was already in a state of agitation, boils over into pure disbelief. One male student expresses his absolute shock, noting that it is only the second day and someone has already established a permanent castle, while he is still living like a caveman in a makeshift shack. A female student laments her lack of practical knowledge, crying out in the chat that she can't even construct a simple thatched hut properly, while Li Feng is already ruling from a Gothic fortress. The gap between the Master of Calamity and the rest of the student body has grown into a vast, insurmountable canyon. Inside his new stronghold, Li Feng examines the parchment for the Tier 6 flying mantis. The system display highlights the creature's Tier 6 status and its devastating potential as a high-tier insect unit. However, the construction cost is staggering: 8,000 units each of wood, stone, and iron, plus the Tier 6 gem he just received. Li Feng reflects on his current situation, realizing that while he has the blueprint and the gem, he has depleted his physical resources on the construction of the castle itself. He understands a fundamental truth of warfare in this world. Without air superiority, there is no real control. To summon the Mantis Legions, he needs a massive infusion of raw materials, particularly iron. Li Feng turns to his hero, Scanna, and looks out over his army. His forces have grown significantly, now boasting 2,000 ironclad ants and a swarm of Beedrills. He decides it is time to move beyond the immediate vicinity and begin a systematic sweep of the surrounding landscape. He gives the order to march southeast, intending to harvest every resource point in their path. As the swarm moves out, the coordination between the grounded ants and the aerial bees is flawless. They encounter pockets of monsters, goblins, and slime scattered through the rough terrain, but these creatures are slaughtered instantly. They are not even speed bumps to Li Feng's army. They are merely walking resource containers. As he assesses the loot from these minor skirmishes, Li Feng notes that while his stone and wood supplies are stabilizing, the iron intake is still too slow for his ambitions. He looks at his growing stockpile of low-tier materials and monster drops, deciding that the most efficient way to balance his resources is to check the global market and begin trading his surplus for the iron he desperately needs. His strategic planning is interrupted by a red-tinted system warning. The second wave of the monster invasion is about to begin. The difficulty has escalated significantly. The system announces a force of 100 monsters consisting of 50 standard goblins and 50 goblin throwers. This news causes another panic in the community channels. Many students are terrified, realizing that the invaders now have range capabilities. They wonder aloud how they are supposed to defend against projectiles when they are already struggling with melee combat. Li Feng, however, receives the news with a cold, dismissive smirk. He stands on the high balcony of his castle, looking down at the red-cracked wasteland as the first robotic shapes of the goblin army appear in the distance. To him, this horde is nothing but a collection of shrimps and crabs, unworthy of concern. He notes that he now commands a total of 3,000 soldiers. With a simple commanding gesture toward the horizon, he orders all units to charge. He tells his swarm to target every living thing in sight, leaving no survivors. As the massive golden cloud of Beedrills and the black metallic tide of ironclad ants erupt from the castle gates, the scene shifts away from Li Feng's fortress to a different region of the wasteland where Wang Chen is locked in a fierce, chaotic struggle. His face is flushed with exertion and a desperate kind of hope. Unlike the first day where he felt he had merely been unlucky, he now looks upon his expanded forces with a sense of superiority. He commands 7 great earth bears and a squad of 8 goblin archers, believing this to be an invincible starting force. In his mind, the first day was a fluke, and today he will reclaim his rightful place at the top. He shouts into the void, addressing Li Feng as if he were standing right there, declaring that the advantage has finally shifted. His arrogance reaches a fever pitch as he makes a bizarre, desperate bet. He claims that if Li Feng manages to take first place again, he will swallow a massive ballista wheel whole. He orders his archers to fire, screaming for his enemies to die as his Dragon Man tears through the invading goblins. However, the reality of the Boundless Continent is indifferent to Wang Chen's boasts. Back at the Whitestone Gothic Castle, the battle, if it could even be called that, has already concluded. A massive gold frame materializes in the sky above the Master of Calamity, and a system announcement echoes across the entire zone. It congratulates Lord Li Feng for once again being the first to annihilate all trial monsters. The time taken is even more staggering than the day before, just 1 minute and 3 seconds. For this feat, another 100 points are added to his trial score. Li Feng stands amidst a literal mountain of monster corpses that have piled up outside his castle gates. The robotic remains of the goblins and the broken forms of the throwers are scattered across the red earth, victims of the overwhelming speed of the insect swarm. He pulls up his holographic leaderboard, calmly assessing the current standings. He notes that the gap between himself and the second-place rank, presumably Wang Chen or Sun Yun, has now widened to a substantial 220 points. With a look of quiet confidence, he reflects that as long as he maintains this steady performance, his grip on the first place position is as unshakable as Mount Tai. In his hand, he holds a new parchment, a reward for his record-breaking speed. The system identifies it as a Tier 4 Fire Mage blueprint. It is a human, magic-type ranged soldier, a category that is considered extremely rare and highly valuable in the early game. However, Li Feng evaluates it through the lens of his specific talent. He recognizes that while a Fire Mage is strong, it would not receive any of the massive buffs or the zero cooldown benefits provided by his Insect Plague talent. Without hesitation, he chooses to sacrifice the rarity of a human mage for the synergy of his swarm. He gives the command to convert the blueprint. Purple magical energy swirls around the paper, the light of the Insect Plague talent consuming the image of the human mage. In its place, the parchment transforms to show a long, segmented creature wreathed in flames. The system announces the successful acquisition of the Tier 4 Scorching Fire Centipede blueprint. Li Feng enters a grand, high-ceilinged hall within the interior of his castle. The white stone walls are cold and imposing, reflecting the firelight. He slams the new blueprint onto the center of the hall's floor, and the system immediately begins construction. A dark stone pillar, intricately carved and surrounded by a permanent ring of flickering orange flames, rises from the ground, the Scorching Fire Centipede altar. The system display indicates that this is a Tier 4, Grade 1 structure, with each centipede costing 50 gold coins to summon. Li Feng looks at the new altar with a tactical sense of satisfaction. Until now, his army has relied on the physical stingers of the Beedrills and the crushing mandibles of the ironclad ants. He lacked a dedicated ranged element to deal with enemies from a distance. The Scorching Fire Centipedes are the perfect solution to this strategic weakness. He immediately allocates his resources, summoning a legion of 200. The sound of hundreds of multi-legged creatures scuttling against stone fills the grand hall. A horde of giant centipedes, their bodies a menacing blend of black and blood-red chitin, crawls out from the base of the flaming altar. Each segment of their long bodies is engulfed in a low, intense heat, and their presence causes the temperature in the hall to rise sharply. With these fire-wielding insects now added to his ranks, Li Feng's army has evolved from a simple swarm into a balanced, multi-dimensional force of destruction. The summoning of the Scorching Fire Centipedes is a sight of both terror and precision. As the 200 creatures emerge from the flaming stone pillar, Li Feng looks at the updated system display to evaluate their combat potential. Each centipede, as a base Tier 4 unit, possesses 3,600 health points, but thanks to the passive buffs from his hero, Scanna, and his territory bonuses, they receive an additional 1,800 points of health. Their attack power, boosted significantly by the Ghost Blood Blade and Scanna's Insect Aura, sits at 580 with an added bonus of 300, bringing their total lethality to a level that dwarfs most standard units. With their defense also seeing a substantial increase, and the addition of the Fireball and Bloodlust skills, Li Feng realizes that these centipedes are no longer just Tier 4 soldiers. Their combined attributes and skills allow them to rival peak Tier 5 units in direct combat. However, the rapid expansion of his army and the construction of his massive castle have left his stockpiles of wood and stone alarmingly low. Li Feng understands that to maintain his momentum, he must secure a massive influx of raw materials immediately. He turns his attention to the holographic trading interface of the Boundless Continent market. As he scrolls through the listings, the scene provides a grim look at the status of other lords. Unlike Li Feng, who established himself in a resource-rich environment, many others were dropped into punishing, barren landscapes. The interface shows images of lords struggling in vast waterless deserts or trapped in rocky, dead forests where no natural food sources exist. The desperation is palpable. Some students are even seen kneeling in front of their recording devices, begging for a single meal and offering rare blueprints in a desperate attempt to avoid starvation. Li Feng notes that after only 2 days, the initial food supplies provided to every lord have run dry for the majority. He observes that the entire regional market has less than 10,000 units of food currently listed for sale, while his own warehouse holds a massive surplus of 20,000 units. Seeing the opportunity to leverage his position, Li Feng opens a new trade listing. He adopts a cold, business-like approach, offering 100 units of food in exchange for 500 units of either wood, stone, or iron. It is a steep 1-to-5 exchange ratio that borders on exploitation. The reaction in the global chat is instantaneous. One male lord's face appears on the screen, shouting in outrage and calling Li Feng a profiteer. He calls for a general boycott, urging all other lords to refuse the trade and claiming that anyone who accepts such a deal is a fool. Li Feng remains unbothered by the insults. He watches the screen as the system notifications begin to chime with relentless frequency. Trade successful, obtained 500 wood. Trade successful, obtained 500 stone. Within moments, the 1-for-5 ratio is proven to be a price the desperate are more than willing to pay. The very same lord who is shouting for a boycott is caught in a moment of hypocrisy. He is shown in shock, realizing that despite his calls for protest, the trades are being completed faster than anyone can click. Another lord is shown weeping with joy, clutching a small crate of food and thanking the heavens that he no longer has to starve. Through this series of high-speed transactions, Li Feng's gold count surges past 30,000, and his resource stockpiles are replenished to overflowing. With the necessary materials now in his possession, Li Feng moves to the final and most important phase phase of his current expansion, the construction of the Tier 6 Flying Mantis Altar. He knows that these units are the key to true air superiority, a force capable of striking from above with such speed that terrestrial defenses become irrelevant. He unrolls the emerald-tinted parchment and gives the system the command to build. The construction is a grand display of magical engineering. On a section of the red-cracked wasteland near the castle, a glowing green stone platform begins to manifest. It is surrounded by a sudden growth of tall, unnaturally vibrant grass that sways even in the absence of a breeze. The cost is high, 8,000 units each of wood, stone, and iron, along with his precious Tier 6 gem. But as the altar stabilizes, Li Feng feels a sense of completion. He reflects that with the addition of the flying mantises, his army will finally reach its complete multidimensional form. He stands before the new altar, knowing that the power he now wields is enough to judge and dominate any other lord who dares to cross. His path in the Boundless Continent, the newly constructed flying mantis altar, stands as a testament to Li Feng's growing dominance, its green stone platform pulsing with an ancient predatory energy. The system display clarifies the stakes. This is a Tier 6 Grade 1 structure, and each unit produced requires a significant investment of 200 gold coins. Li Feng, never one for half measures when it comes to military strength, decides to go all in. He commits his entire liquid treasury to the altar, summoning 80 flying mantises in a single massive batch. Any remaining gold he has left is funneled back into his primary hive to replenish the ranks of his Beedrills, ensuring that his basic swarm remains at full capacity. From the swaying tall grass surrounding the altar, the 80 massive insects begin to emerge. They are breathtaking and terrifying in equal measure, their bodies encased in thick emerald green chitinous armor that reflects the light of the wasteland like polished gemstones. Their wings are wide and translucent, glowing with a faint, ethereal light as they vibrate with a high-pitched, metallic hum. The system display confirms their status as Tier 6 insect-type units, noting that their physical attributes are significantly above the standard for their tier. They possess a suite of lethal skills: Steel Blade, which allows their forelimbs to cut through reinforced materials, high-speed movement, granting them nearly instantaneous closing speed, and the Bloodlust passive, which fuels their aggression in the heat of battle. Li Feng looks over his new aerial legion and lets out a short, triumphant laugh. He reflects on the progress he has made in just a few short days. The gap that once existed between him and the so-called chosen ones, like Wang Chen or Sun Yun, hasn't just been closed, he has surpassed them entirely. He acknowledges the irony of his situation. While his military power has reached heights most lords couldn't dream of, his financial state has hit a temporary rock bottom. His gold reserves have been depleted to exactly zero. However, in the Boundless Continent, raw power is often the precursor to even greater wealth. Before the day ends, Li Feng decides to utilize one final resource: another hero recruitment order. He stands in the open courtyard of his castle and activates the token, calling for a second leader to guide his multi-tiered army. A pillar of deep purple light strikes the ground with a thunderous impact, the air crackling with arcane electricity. As the light dissipates, a new figure stands before him. This hero is a humanoid insectoid, standing tall and sleek, purple-tinted armor that looks like a fusion of biological carapace and advanced technology. Its eyes glow with a piercing pink light. The system identifies the new arrival as Kha'Zix, a wind-blade locust of epic quality. Like Scanna, Kha'Zix is a Tier 1 hero, but his skill set is focused entirely on devastating offensive maneuvers: Windblade, Galeblade, Insect Aura, and Bloodlust. Li Feng observes the new hero, musing that his luck seems to have reached a peak. He compares the rarity of pulling an epic hero to achieving a near-impossible feat in historical strategy games, noting that aside from his initial trash Beedrill pull, the heavens seem to be favoring him. To gauge the true potential of Kha'Zix, Li Feng leads the hero toward a thick stone wall located near the outskirts of his territory. He commands the Windblade Locust to demonstrate its power. Without a word, Kha'Zix slashes the air with its sharp-bladed limbs. A series of purple energy blades erupt from the motion, traveling through the air with a shrill whistle. They strike the stone wall with such force that the entire structure is instantly demolished, reduced to rubble in a matter of seconds. Li Feng notes that the effective range is approximately 80 meters, marking Kha'Zix as a perfect long-range marksman for his army. However, Kha'Zix has more to show. At Li Feng's next command, the hero crosses its arms and unleashes its second skill, Galeblade. Rather than a precise strike, this attack manifests as a massive, sweeping blast of fire and wind that tears across the landscape. The explosion is so violent that it leaves a deep, blackened crater in the red earth. Li Feng watches the destruction with an impressed gaze. He had initially thought of Kha'Zix as a precision sniper, but the scale of the Galeblade suggests something far more destructive, a rocket trooper capable of clearing entire battlefields. With his two epic heroes now standing ready and his army reaching a state of near completion, Li Feng tells Kha'Zix to find a place to rest, knowing that the real conquest of the Boundless Continent is just beginning. The transition from the second to the third day brings a heavy, expectant silence to the red-cracked wasteland. Standing atop the battlements of his Gothic castle, Li Feng surveys the forces he has amassed in such a short window of time. Below him, the ground is darkened by the presence of 4,000 soldiers, a diverse legion of Beedrills, ironclad ants, scorching fire centipedes, and flying mantises. Beside him stand his two epic heroes, Scanna and Kha'Zix, their powerful forms radiating a sense of absolute loyalty. Li Feng reflects on the timing of his progress. Today marks the final day of the novice protection period. He knows that once the invisible barrier falls tomorrow, the trial will transform into a true war of survival and conquest. He is determined to hold every aspect of this world firmly in the palm of his hand. His gaze shifts to the distance, where an aerial scan reveals a high-value target, a Tier 4 gold mine situated atop a jagged mountain peak. This is not a simple resource node like the one he secured previously. The system provides a detailed breakdown of the site's guardians, misty ground ants. These are Tier 4 elite monsters, significantly more powerful than the common creatures he has encountered. Each one possesses 4,000 health points, a high attack rating of 400, and a defense of 200. Their skills, Misty Bite and High Speed movement, make them dangerous predators capable of striking and disappearing before a counterattack can be mounted. Li Feng leads his army toward the mountain, the march of thousands of legs creating a rhythmic thrumming against the earth. As they reach the base of the peak, the first encounter occurs. A massive, blue and black misty ground ant lunges from the shadows with startling speed. Before Li Feng's front line can react, the elite monster catches one of his ironclad ants in its mandibles, crushing it instantly. Li Feng watches the death of his soldier with a cold, narrow-eyed gaze. He does not tolerate losses lightly. He turns to Kha'Zix and gives a simple lethal command to destroy the creature. Kha'Zix acknowledges the order with a short, "As you wish, Lord," and immediately blurs into motion. The wind blade locust is so fast that the elite ant's high-speed movement is made to look like a crawl. In a single fluid motion, Kha'Zix's bladed limbs slash through the air, carving through the armored carapace of the misty ground ant before it can even attempt to retreat. Li Feng watches the elite's life fade, noting that while the creature tried to run, there was never any real chance of escape. The system chimes with the news of the kill. For neutralizing the elite guardian, Kha'Zix earns a massive amount of experience points, though Li Feng observes that even a kill of this magnitude isn't enough to push the hero to Tier 2 just yet. However, the tactical victory is accompanied by substantial spoils, 200 gold coins, and a Tier 4 treasure chest. Li Feng reflects on the battle, musing that a single elite warrior, no matter how strong, is insignificant when faced with his sea of insects. He directs Kha'Zix to open the chest. Inside, the rewards are even more significant than expected. The system announces the acquisition of 2,000 additional gold coins and a rare Tier 4 war treasure, the Compass of Revenge. Li Feng is momentarily stunned by the drop. War treasures are exceptionally rare, often cited as a 1 in a million occurrence. This particular item, however, seems perfectly suited to his personality. The Compass of Revenge allows Li Feng to pinpoint the exact location of any lord who has attacked him within a 2,000-kilometer radius. Furthermore, by spending 2,000 gold coins, he can construct a temporary portal leading directly to the offender's territory, with the travel time determined by the distance. The description of the item, "A gentleman's revenge is best served immediately," draws a dark, satisfied smile from Li Feng. He recognizes the strategic leverage this provides. Once the protection period expires and the continent becomes a lawless battlefield, any lord who dares to offend him will be subject to a swift, overwhelming punishment, regardless of how far they try to hide in the wilderness. With his new treasure secured and the gold mine within his grasp, he commands Kha'Zix to harvest the corpse of the elite ant, preparing his resources for the dawn of the real war. The successful harvest of the elite misty ground ant provides Li Feng with more than just a victory. It yields a significant boost to his territory's logistics. As the system processes the massive blue and black carcass, a golden light settles over the remains, converting them into 2,000 units of high-quality food, and a rare Misty Tower blueprint. Li Feng examines the details of the new structure with immediate interest. The tower is of elite quality, boasting a substantial 20,000 health points. Its primary function is tactical concealment. Once built, it generates a thick, unnatural mist barrier with a 2-kilometer radius. This fog reduces enemy vision by a staggering 90% and effectively blocks all scouting attempts from units Tier 6 and below. Li Feng understands the immense value of this defensive layer. While his army is strong, preventing ranged attacks or surprise sieges relies heavily on remaining undetected. By casting a veil of fog over his Gothic castle, he renders his exact coordinates invisible to the naked eye and most common detection methods. He concludes that without accurate coordinates, he becomes functionally invincible to long-range harassment. He gives the command to build, and within the castle grounds, a spiraling stone tower begins to rise toward the sky. It immediately begins to emit a persistent swirling gray fog that rolls over the white stone walls and out into the red-cracked wasteland. Li Feng notes the maintenance cost of 200 gold coins per day, a price he dismisses as a mere drizzle compared to his vast income. As the day begins to wind down, Li Feng opens his daily progress report to review the state of his empire. The system log indicates that his recent skirmishes cost him a total of 10 Beedrills and 15 ironclad ants. To any other lord, losing 25 soldiers might be a concern, but for Li Feng, these units are entirely replaceable, and their deaths serve to strengthen the rest of his force. He notes with satisfaction that his scorching fire centipedes have successfully reached level 3 through combat experience. His final gains for the day are staggering: over 8,000 gold coins, 30,000 units each of wood and stone, 15,000 units of iron, and 25,000 units of food. The harvest from just his 2 gold mines alone is enough to replenish his minor losses twice over. Confident in his position, he commands his soldiers to eat and enter a state of rest, preparing for the transition into the real war. At dusk, the wasteland is painted in shades of deep purple and orange. Li Feng sits by a crackling campfire just outside the walls of his castle. The warmth of the flames a contrast to the cooling air. He stirs a pot of savory stew and eats a roasted chicken leg, enjoying a rare moment of personal quiet. However, as he finishes his meal, he finds himself bothered by a mundane task, the necessity of cleaning his own dishes. He reflects that this is a human weakness that clashes with his status as a powerful lord. He determines that he eventually needs to acquire human-form soldiers or laborers to handle the domestic tasks of the territory, so that his style as a ruler remains untarnished by common chores. Before turning in for the night, he opens the Novice Lord Mutual Aid channel one last time. The chat is currently filled with praise for Sun Yun, the silver-haired girl with the water elemental spirit. Many students are thanking her for selling food at extremely low prices, calling her a goddess for her generosity. In the very next breath, the chat turns toxic toward Li Feng. The same lord who had earlier called for a boycott resurfaces, labeling Li Feng a profiteer and daring him to show his face again. Li Feng watches the messages with a cynical expression. He recognizes that Sun Yun is too sincere for the Boundless Continent. Because her elemental spirits do not require food, she chooses to sell her surplus at cost to help her classmates. Li Feng, however, views this as a mistake. In his eyes, this is a dog-eat-dog world, where honest and overly helpful people are often the first to lose out. He isn't bothered by the insults or the profiteer label. Instead, he scrolls through his latest market notifications. The system chimes one final time, confirming that his total gold accumulation for the day has reached 30,000 coins. A small, cold smile plays on his face as he reflects on his successful day of tearfully helping his desperate fellow lords by stripping them of their resources in exchange for survival. With his coffers full, the transition tonight brings with it a momentous change in the world's rules. A grand system announcement resonates across the Boundless Continent, declaring that the novice protection period has officially ended. The era of safety is over, and the real struggle for global hegemony has begun. The system introduces a new, brutal mechanic. Destroying another lord's altar will now grant the victor all of that lord's accumulated trial points. Li Feng stands before his 4,000-strong army, his silver-gray hair moving in the cold night wind. He is ready for the shift in the trial's nature. He looks out over the misty perimeter of his territory and reflects that while many might try to enter the Master of Calamity's domain, they will find that leaving it is a far more difficult task. As the protection barrier falls, a different kind of movement begins elsewhere in the zone. A man named Chen Hu, riding atop a massive, glowing white tiger, is seen leading a group of other lords. The atmosphere is tense as one of the allied lords, known only as Lord 4, confronts Chen Hu about a betrayal. It appears Chen Hu used an initial alliance to force others to mine resources for him, only to discard them the moment the protection period ended. Chen Hu smirks from the back of his tiger, dismissing the complaints and emphasizing that in the Boundless Continent, strength is the only currency that matters. He tells the dead weight to leave, making it clear that he has no use for the weak. Having cleared his ranks of those he deems useless, Chen Hu turns to his remaining followers and officially establishes the Green Tiger Alliance. He declares that their singular goal is to take the first-place position in this zone, promising to help his allies develop as long as they follow his commands without question. The remaining lords, lured by the promise of protection and power, hail Chen Hu as their leader. As darkness deepens over the continent, Chen Hu gathers his alliance for their first offensive maneuver. He reveals his plan to strike at other territories while it is still dark, catching them completely off guard. When an allied lord questions the safety of traveling in the dead of night, Chen Hu explains the tactical advantage. Most lords will have let their guard down, assuming they are safe until morning. He points his sword toward the southwest, identifying 3 nearby lords who he believes are the softest persimmons, targets that can be crushed with minimal effort to grow the alliance's resources and points. He gives the order to move, unaware that his chosen path is leading him directly toward the mist-covered fortress of the Master of Calamity. The night remains heavy with a cold, unnatural silence as the Green Tiger Alliance approaches the southwestern territory. Before them stands a wall of fog so dense it seems almost solid, a swirling gray barrier that swallows the light of the moon. Chen Hu, seated atop his glowing white tiger, leads his group of allied lords toward the heart of the mist. One of the allied lords checks his scouting interface, reporting a strange anomaly, a massive cluster of life signatures gathered in a single location just ahead. Chen Hu dismisses the concern with an arrogant snort, his voice echoing through the damp air. To him, it makes no difference if there is 1 lord or 4. In his mind, more enemies simply translate to more points for his alliance. As they push deeper into the swirling vapor, the allied lords begin to feel a sense of unease. They remark on how the fog feels unnatural, even for a wasteland at night. Chen Hu remains undeterred, confident in his numbers and the specific talents of his team. He points out that the mist actually grants them the element of surprise, and he relies on a lord named Zhang Xiang, whose scent talent allows them to navigate the blinding gray shroud with ease. They move forward, convinced they are hunting a weak and unsuspecting target. Suddenly, a golden shape flickers in the mist, a single Beedrill, hovering silently on patrol. Before it can retreat, the Alliance's forces strike it down. Chen Hu erupts into a mocking laugh upon seeing the fallen insect. He recognizes the Beedrill as the trash soldier type everyone ridiculed at the academy, and he tells his followers that they are perfectly safe. He believes they have stumbled upon the territory of a bottom-tier lord who has no hope of defending themselves. Miles away, within the quiet sanctuary of the white stone Gothic castle, a red warning flashes across a holographic screen. The system alerts Li Feng that one of his Beedrills has been killed by an intruder. Li Feng, who had been resting, sits up slowly in his bed. He is remarkably calm, his expression showing no trace of panic. He notes the timing of the attack, realizing that a group of lords has decided to test his defenses the very moment the protection period ended. Within seconds, his two heroes, Kha'Zix and Scanna, materialize at his bedside, their eyes glowing with a lethal readiness. Li Feng tells him there is no rush. He prefers to let the invaders come closer, walking deeper into his trap. Chen Hu's army finally reaches the massive gates of the Gothic castle. As if on command, the thick fog generated by the misty tower begins to dissipate, peeling back like a curtain to reveal the true scale of the Master of Calamity's power. One of the allied lords gasps, his eyes widening as he spots glowing purple shapes in the shadows, the Tier 4 self-exploding fireflies. Chen Hu, still, blinded by his own ego, orders his men to kill them, dismissing the fireflies as mere meat shields. However, as the mist clears completely, the laughter of the Alliance dies in their throats. Standing before them is not a weak lord in a shack, but a 4,000-strong legion of nightmares. Thousands of metallic ironclad ants form a solid black wall, while 400 scorching fire centipedes flicker with purple flames, their heat drying the damp air. Above them, the flying mantises hover with their glowing energy blades ready. Chen Hu is visibly stunned, his grip tightening on his tiger's reins. He stammers as he looks at the sheer volume of soldier types, realizing there are hundreds of elite centipedes and over 1,000 armored ants. Li Feng appears on the high balcony of his castle, looking down at the small group with a cold, piercing gaze. He remarks on their impressive courage for daring to enter his territory. Sensing the shift in power, Chen Hu's arrogance vanishes instantly, replaced by a desperate, forced smile. He tries to change his tone, claiming that his group merely wandered in by mistake and had no intention of offending such a powerful lord. He begs Li Feng to let them pass in peace. Li Feng, however, is not moved by the plea. He tells Chen Hu that he knows they came specifically for him, and since they have arrived, he sees no reason for them to leave. Realizing that a peaceful exit is impossible, Chen Hu's face twists back into a mask of desperate aggression. He asks if Li Feng truly wants to fight to the death. Li Feng's eyes narrow as he clarifies the situation. Only the invaders will be dying tonight. His net is far too strong to break. Enraged and cornered, Chen Hu orders his alliance to fight. He tries to bolster his men's spirits by claiming that Li Feng only has numbers, while his own Greenleaf Tigers are peak Tier 5 combatants. He screams for his army to destroy the Master of Calamity, tear down the castle, and seize the blueprints as the wasteland erupts into a sudden, violent clash.